happiness,
contentment,
compassion,
fulfillment.
confidence.
Are these part of your home in the heart?
If they maybe need added on or restored, then maybe you're a fix-me-upper. Welcome to another episode of Fix Me Upper, where we help you on your personal renovations.
Yeah, we're going to spend some time talking about some things today that are going to help you better your life and enjoy yourself living each day. And what do we have today?
So last time we talked about making changes and identifying changes. So our first step in change is just identifying the need for one. And when we first walk into a new house or we're looking at a fixer-upper, we might notice that the paint needs changed. And, looking at my house, I'm like, yeah, I would change the siding color. Maybe the railing's a little loose and I need to work on that. But before we even get to those items, there's something even deeper that we need to check on. And so the first thing when looking at a fixer-upper or a fix-me-upper is that foundational element.
Yeah, a lot of times in home remodeling, we kind of look at the picture of what it might look with new this and that, new windows and so forth. We would never look underneath, and we may not realize that there may be a problem. So one thing I found out from my experience was always to look at what's holding this thing up. And I think we have to do that with our own lives as well and say, okay, I want to make some changes, but what's holding me up? What is something that's always going to be strong for me, and does that need some kind of repair?
Yes, and so in my job, people always come in and they're asking for the secret to happiness, and usually they think it's a medicine, which isn't right either. But there isn't a real secret, but the closest thing that I have to give them is this statement: living life in accordance with your values. That's what equals long-term happiness, which is more than just an accumulation of short-term pleasures. Living life in accordance with your values.
That's awesome. And I think right now my values say that I'm a little bit cold, and maybe we can take this inside and finish it.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, join us inside right now.
So here we are, back in from the cold, talking about values. So remember, I was giving you that secret to long-term happiness: living life in accordance with your values. And usually when I say that, people think, well, I'm not a serial killer or a rapist, and I love my mom, so I should be good, right? It's a little bit more than that. So when we look at our values, often it's more than just honesty, integrity. Certainly those are all important, but everybody's values are a little bit different. So family, career, personal growth, spirituality, financial gain, those are all values that people can have in varying degrees, and the important thing is none of them are right or wrong.
Right.
We just have to know what ours
Right.
are.
And it's to try to prioritize those is probably kind of futile, because they kind of work together so much. So they interweave and work together as one.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes unintentionally, life just leads us astray. So there might not be giant cracks in your foundation, the fault went through, but there are subtle things that start creating shifting in your life. So if you've noticed that you're making changes in your life for the better, putting down new flooring, and then suddenly the tile starts to crack, again and again, you find yourself redoing and replacing the things that you've tried to fix, there's probably a foundational issue at hand. So then we just need to look a little bit closer.
Yes, and sometimes you may find that it's an easy thing to fix. Sometimes it may take more work, but it's certainly fixable, and that's really the good news.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, there's no condemned houses in Fix Me Upper.
No.
There's always opportunity for change, but we just need to identify that there is a problem in that foundation. And so, for instance, I can give you maybe more subtle examples. If you value honesty and you don't really actively, consciously tell lies, you might though find yourself keeping things from people that you love in an attempt to shield them. You know, maybe you've had a trauma or a really difficult thing in your life that you can't bring yourself to share. It's not out of intention that we're dishonest, but we can feel just that little internal conflict, that little bit of shame from not being totally open because it goes against our value. And so here again, there's no right or wrongs. It's acceptance of where you're at.
Exactly.
Versus feeling shameful of where you're at and feeling like that isn't in alignment. So if you notice that little twinge of, it just doesn't feel right to me, there's something that's not in alignment with that value course, and we need to look a little bit closer and either change it or accept it as it is.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a matter of accepting what happened, and maybe you don't need to tell everybody, but you do need to tell yourself that you're going to be all right with that, and you put it in the right place. People around you that surround you really want to see the good in you. So if there is something like that happening, it doesn't mean that you have to tell them that stuff. All you have to do is be able to accept that's what happened, that's the way I was, but this is who I am now, and be who you want to be.
Mm-hmm. And so that's an important point also. So you might have actually had things that you can look back on and you can say, I am so not proud of what I've done in the past. And regrets basically tell us that we've learned something, that we make different decisions today than we did before. But when we made those decisions, that was all the information that we had. And today is the day that we define our values and live by them.
So how do we go about repairing those things? What exactly can we do to try to help us not feel the way we do about our foundation and the values that may be a little bit kind of not aligned right?
Mm-hmm. Well, so first we have to look at what are our values, and sometimes sitting down and actually thinking about that is important, and we don't take the time to do that. So sit down and think about it, and then sit down and think about what you do every day, because maybe you're saying that, oh, my family is, the biggest thing that I want to invest in, but you expend 90% of your energy in your career and personal gain. And here again, no wrongs, but see if that is really what you want. And if it is, give yourself credit for it. Give yourself credit for saying, well, my value actually might be more set in making a difference for the rest of the world. I don't know. But we need to give ourselves credit rather than feeling kind of shameful or misaligned. We need to have that pride of living within our value set. So acknowledging what it is gives us that opportunity to say, am I doing it right? Yes. And you give yourself the pat on the back and feel that pride for doing it right. And it can be in very subtle ways.
I can give you an example. As my kids were growing up when they were little, I always wanted to capture every moment on camera or a picture or something like that. So I would always take so many pictures. I have so many pictures of my kids growing up and the family and everything. And I said, this is so great. We'll have so many great memories. But the one thing I finally realized was that I wasn't in any of them. Mm-hmm. So I've made a conscious effort to stop taking pictures and let someone else do it. Because that was a value that was really important to me, but the value did not have me as part of that family. And I thought there was something not right about that I corrected by just letting some other people take the photos and the videos. And so that was the way I was able to correct that. And it was an easy thing.
It allowed you to live in that moment.
Yes.
Where it was so important for you to see your family having fun, but then you weren't part of the fun.
Exactly.
So how did that just didn't align right? It doesn't make us happy, and it can be very subtle ways like that. But if you make a conscious effort to say what is important to me, and am I actually getting that out of my life, then you have that space that you can make changes or appreciate what you're already doing. So that's really what addressing the foundation looks like. And certainly there's a lot more changes that we're going to guide you through in other episodes, but this is the primary thing that we need to address. So live life in accordance with your values and figure out what your values are. And that's the most important aspect. And remember that the home and the heart is the most important renovation.
See you later.
I'm Sasha.
And I'm James. Thank you for joining us in another episode of Fix Me Upper.
If you liked what you saw, please share it. And if you took any of our advice, give us some before and after. We'd love to hear from you. Send us a letter or send us a video.